Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our January 30th meeting, our first meeting of 2026. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order and we'll start recording. If you're already ready, Dan, thanks. As a reminder, this is being recorded. We put the prompt on your cover agenda feed as well. That's to help us with preparing minutes. And as our usual, the audio will be uploaded to our website. Anybody that's not present can go ahead and listen to the proceedings and what occurred here today from the membership or from the public. So the audio will be posted up on our website then afterward. So thanks everyone for attending, braving the frigid elements out there, those of you in the room, and folks online. I'm sure you're staying warm and cozy, so thanks for being with us as well. Typically what we do as part of the call to order is just if somebody is attending for the first time an MPO meeting, we like to introduce them, allow them to share a remark or two, and I think we'll do the room here first, and so I will kind of lead that off to our left. If you recall, SEDA COG Joint Rail Authority going fully independent, and so Tina Heinzelman is now fully serving as a program assistant, so she's not with us here for 2026. And Kana Brenda was with us here today. Has been working with us on fiscal matters for quite some time, invoicing, and is stepping in a little bit to help with some of the program assistant duties as well. So I'll make that announcement, and if you wanted to say anything else about yourself, Kana, please feel free. You don't have to.
No, nothing.
And another SEDA COG member, we have Nancy Osborne with us here. If you want to share something with the group as well, please.
I'm the communications and marketing coordinator here at SEDA COG, and I'm finishing up just about my second year here. And just as planning commissioners, if you ever have anything that you want us to share on our social media sites for you, please forward it to me. I'm always happy to share and boost all the successes and activities that are happening around the region. And I'm excited to be here. First meeting.
Great, cool. Thanks, Nancy. We work very closely together on a number of things, and social media wise, our posts, our news releases, assist with other marketing efforts. So glad you could be with us today. In the room, I think we're all knowing each other and familiar with each other, so we won't do that. But how about online? Is anyone joining us today? If this is your first MPO meeting attendance?
Hi, this is Tony Bandiero. You are. I am the executive director for the Eastern Pennsylvania Alliance for Clean Transportation. I have in the past worked with SEDA COG, but it's my first official board
meeting. Hi, Tony,
meeting.
were you speaking?
Yes.
Yeah, I could hear him.
Could you hear
Sorry
me?
About the connection there, but Tony is joining related to agenda item G. So the Pittsburgh Region Clean Cities group will be giving us a presentation on alternative fuels. And Tony kind of handles the Eastern Valley of the state for Clean Cities Coalition. And then Kristen Sable, who's on here, handles the western side of Pennsylvania. So
good morning.
Tony worked with him in the past on some electric vehicles, educational workshops. And so
Can they hear us?
I don't know, but none of them can talk because Kristen came on and somebody else came on. So do we have the right speakers?
It looks
I
like
don't know if you
Chris
can
is
hear
trying
me,
to speak,
Steve, but we could hear him.
but we don't hear him.
stop sharing.
Look down. Obviously, on the other side.
Yeah.
So something. So we're just not getting these speakers. Not sure why that. Middle center of the chat. About Chris, are you able to unmute?
Yep, can you hear me now?
It's orange chat.
They're trying to cut some.
I think we can hear the other remote people ourselves.
Chris, I can hear you and I can hear everybody. This is Justin.
Same here. This is Emily.
Hoping to grab stuff.
If you don't mind, yeah, bear with us a moment, everyone. Sorry for the audio issue.
All right, y'all got to pack up some here.
Yeah, hit the road.
Or maybe you pack up and come here.
So one of the initial folks that joined.
Is it on Ring Central or a Teams meeting?
Ring Central. It looks, yeah, the boardroom mic is showing as talking. And they said they could hear us. But we're not getting their voices. Okay, thanks, Bob. Everyone can hear us at least, so if we're a little bit delayed here with maybe IT coming up to get folks to be able to, I'm not sure if there's a setting issue controlling their being all muted or not, but nice, Scott, people can hear us. They're joining the room, but they can't speak and we can't hear them for some reason. I don't know if there's like a setting issue. Sorry, it popped up here that, but they're confirming they hear us in the room and the owls are lit up.
I'm running it through this one here. This one was just my first one.
And they can hear each other online.
Oh, they can.
Yeah. So I wonder if they're like parked in some other audio.
I feel like it has to be something with the owls themselves.
Still gonna do this again?
Someone, might speak.
How about Chris King or anyone else? Can you try to unmute and speak?
Can you hear me? It's Justin.
Yep, Justin.
This is Jim. Could you hear me?
Yes.
Sounds good. Nice work, guys.
Excellent
Okay,
job.
we're-
Okay. Thanks for bearing with us. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
Echo canceling speakers.
Yeah,
There we are.
we're good to go now. Thanks that everyone could hear each other. Rather just partial. So all we did was the introductions of first time folks here in the room, and I think Tony was trying to unmute, and so anyone else, we'll have Tony go first, and if it's your first time attending a SEDA COG MPO meeting, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, try it again. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, thanks, Tony.
Hey, thanks for having us. And it's my first official board meeting. We've worked with SEDA COG on some electric vehicle stuff in the past, and just to let you know, we cover part of the territory, and then Kristen and Pittsburgh Region Clean Cities covers the other counties. So we cover Snyder, Union, Montour, Columbia, Northumberland, Lycoming, and Perry, and then all the other counties that are on the list is on Kristen's side. So we work together to help bring alternative fuels, hopefully, to fleets in your regions and municipalities. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Tony.
Yep, and this is Kristen Sable, just introducing myself. I'm the interim executive director of Pittsburgh Region Clean Cities, and you'll be hearing a little bit more from me later. Thanks for having me.
Great, thanks, Kristen. Anyone additional from the online ranks? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and proceed to item B. This is the public forum. Those who've been with us for the past year know we kind of allow this, just if there's anything not on the agenda that anyone wants to bring up from the public. feel free to do so now. We also have the member forum at the end for members, but anyone from the public that would like to share an item not on the agenda here today? Sure, thanks. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, this is Jeff Eisman from PA Soka Transportation Alliance. A couple brief things. First, I think most folks know the federal government shutdown. Today's the deadline to get a continuing resolution. I think there was a deal by the Senate, but there were some things that came up. So we're not sure if that's going to happen. But if anybody's got federal grants, you may want to be aware of that during the shutdown. A lot of times staff that do the grants have more limited availability. So there's that. I think for most of the departments, for DOT, for HUD, and some of the other ones that folks may be interested in this space, I think they were looking at doing a continuing resolution through the through September 30th. So, but we should know more today. If they don't have a federal budget by midnight, then they will go into shutdown mode. Also for this year, the Infrastructure and Jobs Act was passed in 2021 under President Biden and in the Congress. This year it's up for a 5-year renewal. No, a lot of folks may be interested in the surface transportation aspect of that, but there are other pieces of it that Pennsylvania and other states have gotten money on, including rural broadband. So the deadline for that will be September 30th of this year. I believe there's been work started on that, both the House and the Senate. And the state budget, as most are aware, the governor announces his budget Tuesday, February 3rd, but interestingly enough, my birthday. But they'll be starting appropriations hearings actually on the 23rd for all departments in both the House and the Senate of February, and then it'll go till the March 12th. PennDOT is actually getting a whole day by the PA Senate, which is unusual. Usually they just get a morning or afternoon, but they're giving them the whole day on the 2nd. And the House is going to be the morning of the 9th. I could put something in the chat on that, but the budget is the main thing that's coming up. We'll see what the governor has in there for transit and roads and bridges and other items. A couple other bills that are moving. Senate Bill 802, and there's also a House companion bill on the same issue. It's a bill that would deal with how police deal in Pennsylvania with drivers that have communication issues, particularly disabilities, and that's something that's slated to be. It's on the PA Senate transportation docket for this Tuesday, Monday the 2nd. And we also understand another bill that's moved is PennDOT has a bill on medical examiners where they would include a mobility instructor on the advisory board when determining one's driving abilities. That's something that's not there currently. So that House bill has moved. I could put more on that in the chat. I want to say that's House Bill 1700, but I'll double check and look on that. So those are the things that I'm aware of, and I do believe there are continuing discussions behind the scenes on e-scooters, both restarting the program in the city of Pittsburgh and looking at different cities like Scranton. It's the only second class A city that's been noted in legislation, and also third class cities, which are a couple in this region. I want to say Shamokin, and I want to say there's one other one. So that's my comment. If folks have any questions, I'll be on for the meeting later, and I'll put stuff in the chat. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. About anyone else for public forum business? Okay, don't see anything else in the chat or raised hands, and nothing in the room, so we'll go ahead and advance to item C. This is the approval of the past meeting minutes for the meeting held on November 21st. These were shared in the electronic packet we provided on Monday, and they're in your hard copy here today, starting on page 3. So if everyone's had a chance to review, we'd look for a motion to approve the minutes from November 21st. We'll give that motion to Greg Malter. Thank you. About a second. second by Brad. Thank you, Brad. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, great, thank you. The minutes have been approved. They'll be uploaded to our website afterward. Next is item D, it's our usual tip modifications. This time we do have a couple amendments that we'll be taking votes on, but reminder the majority of the items included here in the packet are the administrative modifications that don't require a vote. But starting on page number 9, we do have an amendment in District 2, part of our region, and also on page 10. So we'll defer to Mark Schultz to run down some highlights on these two amendments, and then we'll just do a combo vote to approve them both unless there are major questions or issues that pop up from the members. So, Mark, would you mind unmuting and describing the two amendments here in District 2, please?
Thank you, Steve. Can you hear me?
Yes, sounds good.
All right, wonderful. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask that we look at page 10 first. On page 10, the amendment for page 10 is for the dollar for dollar swap of funds with North Central Planning. North Central Planning has a project in which they cannot expend NHPP funds. They require STP funds to be able to support the project that they have a need for. And it ends up that through some fiscal balancing and some other efforts, we're able to identify enough STP funds within the SEDA COG planning region. So I've talked with Steve and I've talked with Amy Kessler at North Central, and they're both willing to move forward with this, and that's why it's in front of you here today. For a dollar for dollar value swap of $4 million that will be STP funds taken from the SEDA COG tip and put towards and then returned with NHPP, which is National Highway Performance Funds. Now the NHPP funds can be used on NHS routes, and in the SEDA COG area we have more significant more opportunities for projects, and we have more ability to utilize those NHPP funds. As we move from page 10 back to page 9, that is the display of the distribution of those funds. As those $4 million of funds for NHPP will be brought into SEDA COG, or I intend or hope that they will be, those funds will be put into the reserve line item, and then from the reserve line item, they'll be put out to two separate projects that are already in design for Corridor 220 in Clinton County. Both projects are bridge rehabilitation. One is an epoxy project that is doing some bridge deck repairs. The other is a bridge rehab that will then follow with an epoxy of those bridge surfaces as well. Steve, did you mention you wanted to do a dual vote or ask if there are any questions on this proposal or this amendment?
Yeah, let's entertain questions first before doing a combined vote, since they're all going to be lumped into one electronic tip amendment that we'll do afterward. I think just one vote for District 2 amendments and then a separate vote for District 3 would be fine. And just a reminder, here's the slide that we're sharing now that we do routinely for each MPO meeting. You can click on those status report links for these amendments that Mark is covering, and also go to the Google Street View as well. So depend on one map system, kind of orient you, and then the Google Street View, if you have a chance to click on those or would like to do so, feel free. But any questions for Mark on the moves here and the swap with our peer to the west, North Central, or the projects on US Route 220? If not, we would look for a motion to approve the amendment that's presented for District 2. Oh, I was almost a tie. I'll give it to Brad with a motion, the second to Lincoln, if that works. Thank you both. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, great. Thanks for your flexibility and working through that there, Mark. We also have your letter of administrative action chronicled here in the packet, starting on page 11, running through page 15. Are there any you'd like to highlight them, Mark?
A number of these, you'll notice a number of these, there are comments in here on the narratives that'll mention BRIP and NHPP. Many of these actions were done to collect and identify funds that could be then taken to the reserve line item for the previous discussed amendment. So on let's move over to page 12. We continue to see some NHPP in the middle of the screen there for the Juniata, Clinton, and Mifflin portion that it actually affects the Lewistown bridges. Lewistown bridges were originally identified as NHPP funds and BRIP funds. We've done some movements there. On the bottom of that sheet, we're adjusting for the fiscal year of the phase need. So we're adjusting the utility and right-of-way phases for those projects and making sure that we have the funds in the appropriate fiscal year to support those needs. Flipping over to page 13, we have multiple scenario again, and you see Lewistown bridges, but we also have the Westport fill slide. The Westport fill slide was identified by central office as a good opportunity, a good candidate for protect funds. And so we were able to utilize, get approval for the use of protect funds. And that use of protect funds allowed us to free up some additional STP funds out of the Westport slide. That project is currently advertised, and we're looking for a bid, believe the end of February. And then moving over to page 14, in the middle of that, we had, that is where we see the adjustment of protect funds again. We recognized in the middle there with SR 1002 Honey Creek Road Slide that project has been delayed into a 2027 let. So with that, we recognize that we could not expend the protect funds that were programmed for 2026. We were able to move those funds towards the Mifflin County 322 Man's Narrow Wall Rock Slide project. And that will allow for some right-of-way need for fencing and for some supports on the top of that hillside, as well as an anticipated increase for the construction phase there as well. And then at the very bottom of page 14, we're rolling over to the last page of 15. That is the distribution of protect funds for the Westport fill slide. So if there are any questions on any of these that I didn't cover or others, please let me know.
Great, thanks, Mark. And again, these are informational, don't require a vote. Thanks for that kind of constant balancing act, and thanks for bringing those statewide managed program funds on here, and then, it saves some other regional tip funding and can go into the line item. So thank you, Mark. Any questions for Mark? Okay, hearing none, we'll segue into page 16 and 17, and these include the two amendments within District 3. So Chris King, if you don't mind running down the actions here.
Sure thing, Steve. Can you hear me?
Yep, thank you.
So our first amendment is we're just simply switching funds on this project from state to federal for the PE phase, and that triggers an amendment here in the region. This is a bridge replacement project, and we don't have enough state funds to cover design, so we had to convert it to federal. The second project is a new highway safety improvement program funded project. It's a group. There's multiple locations being done under this. We call it a lane departure project. Not really worth doing these locations individually, but if we're able to cobble together enough sites, it becomes a pretty attractive group project. We have one underway in our other two regions in District 3. So we take sites off the highway safety crash list, the high priority sites, and for the most part, these will be like high friction surface treatments, but also rumble strips, some guide rail improvements, signing, So I don't think once we have field views done, we'll probably break it into a couple projects, one where we need right away and one where we don't. But we have a number of sites approved on this, so yeah, that's what this project is.
Okay, thank you,
Any
Chris.
questions?
Sir? If not, we would look for a motion to approve the District 3 amendments as presented here today. Motion by Mr. Mulder, thank you. Do we have a second? Lincoln, thank you for the second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. The normal lesser adjustments to the tip and cash flowing and balancing begin on page 18, run through page 26. Any there of note that you wanted to cover, Chris?
I mean, there weren't really any that I had envisioned calling out. I did some math on it, and generally this all these management actions are kind of a wash. They all kind of zero out. There's a lot of small additions, but then there's a lot of small decreases too. So I'd be happy to answer any questions if you want to read it during the meeting and bring it up later or email me about them. I'd be happy to fill you in on any.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, this table here, we just kind of hit those that had the higher amounts within District 3, along with those two amendments as well. And so you can always check these out on one map for checking out the locations or the Google Street View links if you're so inclined. But any questions for Chris before we proceed? Okay, don't hear or see any, so we'll just continue along with you, Chris, if you don't mind, to cover the CSVT project updates. And we did include your bullet, somewhat truncated, but the bullets are on the slides here as well.
Okay. So with the Southern Structures contract, there's a little bit of stuff that needs to be cleaned up in the spring, but for all intents and purposes, it's the work's done. It's 98% complete. Just some minor cleanup items. The Southern paving contract, as you'll recall, that was awarded for 186 million. Trumbull and Golden Triangle. They have started clearing and grubbing where some utility relocations will be happening. And some of those relocations along the old trail have already begun. I think there is a little bit of earthwork that has been started. You can see that we are going to be using the Veterans Memorial Bridge. We're going to be controlling some traffic at times on there with flagging, and we will be having press releases on that. For the most part, it's still, mobilization, just getting the contractors getting their stuff on site for work to really ramp up in the spring. 11 and 15 and 522 interchange. There will be a new ramp stub and signal installed here to allow traffic to turn left from the northbound off ramp to head south on 522. That was what we had proposed. The township basically said that they've been back and forth on this, but they do support the signal, mostly because of planned development. The district still supports it just because of the operations and minimizing delays. So, given that the township has agreed to it, it will be incorporated and ultimately be in place when mainline is opened in late 27. So, it's kind of a development that changed from the long-standing design of the project. worth just calling out here. And then we do have also funded as part of CSVT and we broke it out a long time ago to develop as its own project, a number of ITS devices. We have further broken that into a couple other contracts. We anticipate opening bids in this coming summer for the first one that's going to involve permanent boards on each direction of the main line and cameras at the interchanges. And then the second contract will follow with some devices on the major approach routes, 15, 11, to CSVT proper. So, anybody have any questions? Everything's still, 61 connector, main line still open fall of 27, and then the next section with the connector fall of 28, so that hasn't changed. Doesn't seem as long away now.
All right, yeah, steady progress being made, and thanks for all you're doing to manage this in such an effective manner and the various contracts. So, just a question maybe for Lincoln, are you seeing some of that land development as well around the interchange area around the Susquehanna Valley Mall?
Yeah, I'm really thankful that the changeover in supervisors in Monroe Township kind of finally come to their senses and allowed for the light there so you can turn left and go south on 522. So thank you for that.
And this is near the Sheets gas station if you're all traveling that corridor down there. Any other questions, comments for Chris or anything in relation to the CSVT project? Hearing none, thank you very much, Chris. Appreciate that. Next is item F. It's our normal kind of staff activity reporting related to the work program conducted on behalf of the region. Within your packet, page 29 is where our normal updates begin. Several of these are covered as agenda items later here on the meeting packet, so I won't really hit too many of those up front. I will mention on page 31, Don's on here virtually, but he's been working back and forth with the PennDOT Central Office team of late. If you remember the electric vehicle infrastructure program, charging stations program, we had submitted the table of locations and use cases that we thought would make sense based on our prior analysis and outreach. And so they asked a couple of questions as they're moving into the community charging phase and putting out contracting mechanisms throughout the state. So for our part, Central PA would be late 2026, but they just asked for some questions on some of those locations, either more definition if we talked about downtowns or less definition if we were like a specific parcel kind of, because they can't be that specific when they'll eventually do the contracting. So Don's been working through that, and we'll get more details out to members as they come together and hopefully see the approximately $2 million that is allocated or intended for our region to be put to use for more charging stations, high fast charging. So that is there, more to come. Then on page 32, we just hit some of the funding programs. Everybody remembers the state budget impasse, I think, but that had ended. And then so in December, there were a lot of awards being announced. We've shared those, and we have the links here within the packet. If you've not seen them, and Nancy's helped with promoting, some of these as well, the Multimodal Transportation Fund through PennDOT, and then also DCD's Commonwealth Financing Authority were announced, so you can check out those links and details for more. And very glad for Brad, and we worked with them on the Black Dog Road project in Indiana County. Got the multimodal award, so we were pleased for that. Got the Signal in Milton Borough for the Green Light Go program. And then the Commonwealth Finance Authority, there were a slew, 17 projects, I guess, across the region. Some of those are on the draft transportation improvement program as well. So we'll sort through details on if there's funding that we don't need to fully dedicate on the tip, or what the actual amount there, and work with the PennDOT teams and the municipalities on those. So just wanted to note that. And the transportation term set aside, call in November, we met, reviewed, evaluated those, and Kristen provided the comments, rankings from the MPO members to PennDOT Central Office. And the statewide selection committee is reviewing those, and hopefully here sometime in the spring, we'll see the awards announced. And as soon as we get that, we'll share it with the membership. On page 33, something that broke after we shared the packet, the typical municipal outreach workshops that are kind of related to PennDOT Connect have been scheduled for 2026. So we'll update the packet for next time to include the links there. But I think it's a late April for District 2 counties and early May for District 3. And the District 2 can be in person or virtual, and the District 3 will be all virtual, depending on your municipalities who benefit from that typical activity and meeting with some of their peers and PennDOT district staff and central office. Those will be held again in the spring. And moving on to something else here. Page 36 is where I'll turn it over to Don to unmute on the LTAP program. Let's cover a couple highlights there, what's been transpiring. So Don, if you don't mind unmuting and give the members an update on LTAP.
Sure. Thanks, Steve. A lot of things are happening as we come into late winter, early spring. We all like to see early spring, I'm sure. But as happened last Friday, I serve on the LTAP Advisory Committee, and that committee meets twice a year. And we met last Friday, again, down in Harrisburg. And many things are happening with the LTAP program. They're kind of turning over their program to another new contract. So a few of the items that they are involved with, like technical assistance visits and scheduling new classes, have been delayed a little bit until some of that gets sorted out, but that should be happening pretty soon. So we're looking forward to a busy spring. We have quite a few classes that have been requested that have not been scheduled yet. I'll just run down those in a little bit later minute here. One thing that did happen a couple of weeks ago is the LTAP group is adding what they refer to as soft skills training in-person classes and online classes to match some of the more recent needs that have showed up, especially since the pandemic ended. And one of the classes that we think is going to be well attended all across the state is called Leadership Development for Public Works. It's not been fully deployed yet or scheduled anywhere except in a pilot version. And that's what we hosted at SEDA COG 2 weeks ago on the 14th. We had close to 20 people from different municipalities and also some SEDA COG people that attended. I think it was well received. The content is really excellent. The instructor is outstanding. And I would just emphasize too that a couple things. One of them is that the content, even though it's phrased as public works, it's really more broad than that. It can really be applied to just about any organization, I think. And yes, it does touch on public works, but the content is really wider than that, and it can be very appropriate, I think, for people like planning directors, even county commissioners or township supervisors. So if you have any interest in that class, it will become available before long. I think there's one more pilot online that they're going to run through before they do that. The second part of it, though, is some of the people that attended, even though it's called leadership development, and we had road supervisors and public works directors, there were other more line people that were in attendance there, and they participated very well, I think, from the perspective of talking about issues that they may expect from their supervisors, what kind of leadership they expect from the higher ups. So it's kind of a two-way or two-part audience, and I think that's very appropriate. So if you have any interest in that, please let me know. It's going to be hopefully held over in Point Township across the river this spring as well, and other people can request it in addition. A couple other things from the meeting last week that I wanted to mention is I think just about everybody knows what the Manual on Uniform Transportation Signage is. It's called MUTCD, and it gets updated by Federal Highway Administration, USDOT, every decade or so. They came out with a new version of it a couple of years ago already and gave DOTs, state DOTs, some time to evaluate it, maybe suggest some changes or adapt it to their own particular needs or conditions. And so PennDOT has concluded that process. Just on January 17th, it was officially adopted by PennDOT. What that means in LTAP terms is that there'll be a new class that's offered for highlighting some of those new sections and changes. There's some very interesting things that have come out in there related to pedestrian safety and crosswalks, for example. So that class can be requested as well. There's going to be an online review of that new class on February 19th that you can sign up for. I can help do that too. If you want to see what some of the changes are, you can do that at any time. So that will be again February 19th. Also, a lot of PennDOT's official transportation publications are being updated accordingly right now. Some of you may know about Pub 212, for example. That will have a lot of new information on crosswalks and pedestrian safety. The crosswalks class that LTAP offers has been updated as well, and there will be other things that are shown in there. I just wanted also to mention that PennDOT is really centralizing publications and links online where you can find these documents and other associated things like videos, for example, through their traffic signal portal website. So that's the place where you need to go if you're interested in looking at any of these publications, because they've been updated all by the end of last year and many new documents that are there. So PennDOT may be continuing to expand that portal to be something larger that they can use, but just a note about that too. A couple other real quick items from the meeting last week. For anybody that's done or is interested in traffic speed studies, which is a very popular topic right now, there's more flexibility for traffic engineers to take context into consideration for speed limit adjustments. And I think that's a good thing because it may help to justify lowering speed limits in some cases where it might not have otherwise been permitted because of some of the more stringent regulations. So, consider that if you're interested in having one of those studies done. So many other things are happening on the LTAP side. Just a real quick rundown of classes that we hope to have conducted in person this spring throughout the SEDA COG region will be traffic calming. That's a class that's been updated greatly, especially because of changes in the MUTCD. Trucks on local roads, that one has been scheduled for March 19th. That will be over in Ferguson Township, Center County. Other classes that are yet to be scheduled: pipe and culvert replacement, asphalt road maintenance. There's some new classes associated with that as well. Stormwater control measures and roadside vegetation control. So quite a bit of new and I think pretty interesting and exciting things coming from LTAP. One last reminder is, I believe it's March 19th is the due date. If any of your member municipalities are interested in submitting something for Build a Better Mousetrap competition, we're really pleased to notice and to comment that the winning People's Choice submission for that program came from Columbia County, from I believe it was North Center Township. So that happened in our area, and it gets submitted through national channels for national competitions as well. So again, let me know if I can help at all with any matters on LTAP, new class requests, signing people up, and appreciate the chance to give you an update.
Great. Thanks, Bill. Okay, a lot of vital services, resources, and training through LTAP. So especially as we're getting newer public works departments, being filled and new road masters throughout the region. So thanks for that update. Any questions for Don about LTAP? If not, other items within this section are typical status reporting on the transportation alternative set aside projects and those highway occupancy permit applications being submitted across the region or revisions to them, and the same with the traffic impact scoping applications as well. So those are there for your reference. Okay, yeah, thanks, Sam. Yeah, Jeff, please go ahead with the question.
Sure. Thanks for the presentation. Do any of the LTAP classes, we'll say, address any of the needs of like people with disabilities? And I'm thinking also folks on bikes. I know in different spaces, we've had conversations with PennDOT on that, and supposedly the feds and PA are both looking at concerns about addressing some of the needs, particularly in higher traffic areas where there have been a lot of accidents and things like that.
Two-part answer, yes, and probably more to come as well. The first part that's yes is that the most closest class that covers all that information, there is a specific class on ADA conditions, and that touches on a lot of different things, obviously, that go back to ADA regulations. But that one is well developed, is available for requests, and if you have any interest in following up on that, please let me know. On the subject, especially of e-bikes, there is something I just saw this morning as well. You're correct, PennDOT has been PennDOT, I should say, and the legislature have been discussing and deliberating what sort of regulation or what sort of protections maybe could be put in place for the whole e-bikes area. And that's difficult to define. There's a lot of gray areas about what an e-bike is, and PennDOT has been struggling with that. They've been promulgating some guidelines for that. But I think it's actually something that may happen this year to see some legislation come out. And one thing I did see this morning is that the state of New Jersey, their legislature has passed some pretty stringent regulations and requirements for what they consider to be e-bikes. On ages where people actually need to have a driver's license and an approved, state-approved helmet and some other things. So I believe we can probably this year, we can expect to hear more and see more come out from the legislature and PennDOT related to ensuring safety as much as possible for the e-bikes area, and stay tuned on that because I'm sure that will be in the mainstream media. Oh, I should say.
You mean e-bikes or
I should say too that.
Or e-scooters?
Well, it could, really all of them. And again, it depends on how things are defined. But LTAP is discussing that. That is on the list of potential new classes, and some of the material would be drawn from pieces that are currently in other classes. But I think we'll probably see that as its own class through LTAP as well, maybe even later this year.
Great, thank you, Don. We're next up to item G. This is our guest presentation. We're pleased to have Kristen Sable with us here today. I'll stop sharing here to go ahead and bring up the PDF unless you want to do the actual PowerPoint. And then Don, just maybe to briefly reference your involvement with the advisory committee within the region.
Yes, and you heard a little bit already from Kristen and from Tony that these two organizations cover Pennsylvania. They're nonprofit groups, Clean Cities, Clean Fuels groups, partly that are designated by the U.S. Department of Energy. That's part of the Clean Cities network across the country. And not to steal too much thunder from Kristen, but last year we had heard that the Pittsburgh Clean Cities group was going to expand their outreach to our part of the state, more the center part of Pennsylvania. And there is an advisory committee. There was a meeting last week that I took part in that includes North Central counties, Center County as well. And hopefully there will be some good things come out of that. And Kristen will want to talk about that just a little bit more. So we will continue to stay in touch with both groups, see how they can support the EV initiatives and still natural gas fueling, for example. And we'll see where that goes this year, but we're excited to be part of that. So I'll stop there, Kristen, if you'd like to take over.
Great, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Kristen Sable with PRCC. You can slide down to the next slide. So here with Tony Bandiero, my colleague at Eastern Pennsylvania Alliance for Clean Transportation, and we're the two Clean Cities and Communities coalitions in Pennsylvania. Our vision is for a decarbonized transportation future for all communities. And basically, we do this by advocating for clean fuels in partnership with public and private stakeholders throughout our territories. Scroll down.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. The Clean Cities and Communities Partnership has been around for more than 30 years. This is just a little snapshot of some of the achievements in that time. We've put more than 1.6 million alternative fuel vehicles on the road. We've averted more than 72 million tons of emissions, and collectively we've had an energy use impact of 14 billion gasoline gallon equivalents. Scroll down. So the Clean Cities and Communities Partnership is actually a large network of over 75 designated coalitions that span the country. So here on the map, you can see everywhere there's a blue area with a little yellow dot. That's a Clean Cities coalition. And then those areas in dark gray are what we call apprenticeship coalitions. So those are coalitions that are just coming on board. And this is just to show that the work that we do isn't just in the cities, but it's also in suburban and rural communities across the country. I think we cover roughly 93% of the population currently, and we're hoping to eventually cover it all. Scroll down. So here in Western Pennsylvania, you can see the breakdown of our territories. So Pittsburgh Region Clean Cities covers the 33 counties on the western side of the state. And then Tony over at EPACT has the 34 counties on the eastern side of the state. And together we also have a collaboration that we call the Drive Electric PA Coalition. It's a partnership with PennDOT and the PA Department of Environmental Protection. So we collaborate on that together. You can scroll down. As Dawn mentioned, we are part of this Clean Cities Mid-Atlantic expansion project. So back in the fall, PRCC was fortunate enough to hire James O'Donnell. He's worked at a company called Alternative Fuel Solutions for a number of years. Now he's doing some work with us as a program assistant serving the central region, which is, as you can see, that area highlighted in yellow. So those are all the counties that James will be helping to support with building more support for our stakeholder network in the region. Scroll down. Just a little bit about the two organizations at a glance. Both PRCC and EPACT have been around since the 90s. So we've been with the Clean Cities and Communities Partnership for a good bit of that 30 years of history. We're both 501c3 nonprofit organizations comprised of public and private companies, state and local governments, municipalities, and utilities. Some of the things that we do, we assist with funding opportunities such as grants, incentives, vouchers, and rebates. We collaborate directly with stakeholders on clean fuel projects by providing technical assistance and project management. But the bulk of what the Clean Cities and Communities Partnership Program is focused on that education and outreach. So it's really getting the message out there about clean fuels. And we cover this whole portfolio that you see here, including electricity, propane, natural gas, hydrogen, biodiesel, and ethanol. You can scroll down. So again, our mandate is to strategically advance clean transportation. Some of the things that we do, we provide access to unbiased data-driven tools and resources. We work on building collaborations and partnerships among our stakeholders. We work to make sure that they receive personalized experience rooted in the local context. And again, I mentioned those funding opportunities. You can scroll down. And this is just another view of our offerings. We are within the Department of Energy. We are part of the Vehicle Technologies Office, which they've just recently renamed the Transportation Technologies Office. And we're part of what they call the Technology Integration Program. What I'd like to highlight on this slide is we are able to offer technical assistance through what they call the technical response service. So what that means is when we're collaborating with stakeholders, anytime there's a technical question that can't be answered, we can usually get a response with some good guidance and information within about 48 hours. We also provide a suite of different information tools. If you scroll down, some of the popular tools that the Clean Cities and Communities Network provides is the Alternative Fuels Data Center. This is a suite of publications and case studies, digital tools and calculators, maps and data. So anything that you might need to evaluate a clean fuels adoption project, you can usually find the information there. We also have the fueleconomy.gov site, which provides information on improving fuel economy, including more data and calculators there, as well as gas mileage tips. And then there's a National Clean Cities and Communities website as well that has a full coalition search. So if you're looking for expertise, we can always leverage our network. If there's a question and you need help, sometimes one of the other coalition directors has already encountered that problem. So you can use the coalition search and find answers to some of those questions there. Scroll down. And I mentioned that we do this across a whole portfolio of fuels. So this is just some examples of the different fuels that we advocate for. What I'm going to do for the rest of for the next part of the presentation is just sort of highlight some of the success stories that we've had in Pennsylvania. And then I'll give you a little bit of brief information about each fuel. I'm not going to go through all of those slides in great detail. You have it to reference, but I will highlight just a couple little tidbits about each fuel. So in Western Pennsylvania, we've had a wonderful collaboration with a group called Vogel Disposal. They won DERA Emissions Reduction Act grant that funded the purchase of 4 trash haulers that they wanted to run on natural gas. And now they're up to a fleet of about 120 renewable natural gas vehicles. They're also basically creating that renewable natural gas directly from the landfill. And they provide the only public RNG fueling station in Pennsylvania. So just in 2022 alone, they used more than 1 million gallons of renewable natural gas. Scroll down. So natural gas vehicles generally come in 2 types. There's compressed natural gas and liquefied natural gas. What we generally see in Pennsylvania is more of the compressed natural gas. You can scroll down. And those compressed natural gas vehicles can also run on renewable natural gas, which is chemically identical. Some of the benefits of the renewable natural gas are the economics. It's cleaner and it's more significant reduction in the greenhouse gas emissions. So they really like that. We're seeing more and more of it used every year. Scroll down. This just gives you a little bit of the benefits and considerations of natural gas vehicles. It does have a high octane rating. The fuel has been around for a long time, so it's an abundant domestic resource with lower emissions and consistent fuel prices. Scroll down. We'll just skip this slide.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. And this just shows you some of the vehicle applications. So the natural gas is used a little bit more heavily in the medium and heavy duty vehicle classes with those refuse haulers, transit buses, and school buses. And go to the next slide. So a second area where we've had a lot of success in Pennsylvania is with propane school buses. This is a collaboration directly with EPACT. We work together to put more than 1,000 propane school buses on the roads with 20 different school districts involved. And collectively, that reduced about 5,000 tons of carbon dioxide per year. You can go to the next slide. So propane is a very stable fuel. It spans the whole portfolio of light, medium, and heavy duty vehicles. You can go to the next slide. Some of the benefits of it is the low flammability. It's very safe. It has a lot of cost savings, and again, that reduced emissions. You can go to the next slide. You can skip that one. And again, as I said, it sort of spans the whole portfolio of vehicle applications with the propane vehicles. We are seeing a lot used in transit shuttle buses. Also, in addition to the school buses and transit buses. Go to the next slide. And then the third fuel that we see a lot in Pennsylvania is, of course, the electric. Now, I'm sure you're hearing a lot about it with the NEVI funding coming your way and the priority locations that you're having to identify for the next funding rounds. One of the collaborations that we've had success with in Western Pennsylvania, we built a cohort program with the local municipalities to support their climate action plans. And we called this program Electrify Allegheny. So this was a collaboration of PRCC, Duquesne Light Company, and the Congress of Neighboring Communities, which is called Connect. Together, we walked a group of 18 municipalities through exploring an adoption project with electric fleets and public charging transitions. Basically, we provided free site assessments so that they could determine the feasibility of EV charging in municipal locations. And then we also worked with them on fleet analysis to help transition some of their municipal vehicles over to electric. And then finally, we're collaborating with them on the grant applications to fund those transitions, primarily through what is called AFIG applications. So that's the Alternative Fuel Incentive Grant Program of the PADEP. Scroll down. So this is just some basic information about electric drive vehicles. They do come in different classes. As you see here, there's the all-electric vehicles as well as the hybrids. Pennsylvania currently has about 164,000 electric vehicles on the road, according to the Drive Electric PA Coalition's recent data. You can scroll down. And then with the benefits of the electric, you can get even lower on the emissions, almost down to zero, depending on the source of your electricity. So people love it for improving their fuel economy, lowering their fuel costs. And of course, we do get that increased energy security from the fuel. Scroll down. This just shows you the snapshot of electricity production in Pennsylvania. So a lot of our electricity does come from natural gas. So we don't get a complete zero tailpipe emissions in Pennsylvania. You can scroll down. And then this just gives you a little bit of background about the different types of charging that are available. Scroll down. Another area of success that we've had related to the electric vehicles is our work with workforce development initiatives. And this is something that we are, with our expansion into the central region of PA, this is an area where we're sort of starting. Our success story is with the Community College of Allegheny County, where we've developed the first EV automotive technician apprenticeship program in the US. They were approached by a group from Germany to develop this apprenticeship program modeled after the German handwork scammer program. They installed a whole laboratory of what they call the new Lucas Nile training system. So there's a fully equipped technicians training laboratory out at the West Hills Center in Oakdale. And this is a 15 credit certificate program with paid on the job training at dealerships. And what we're doing in Central PA now is we're looking to replicate programs like this. So out at CCAC West Hills, we've been working with them for over 10 years on alternative fuel training curriculum programs. We started with the alternative fuels and then moved into the EV space, and we're looking to replicate that. Currently, James O'Donnell is working with Jeff Tech, and he's in discussion with Penn College on also creating those programs, probably starting with the natural gas space and then moving into electric. Next slide. Another project that we thought may be of interest to this group, Tony and I are working on a project with PennDOT for electric construction equipment demonstration and deployment. So we expect over the next roughly year and a half, we'll be coming around to the different PennDOT regional offices and providing workshops and training on electric construction equipment to local municipalities and construction companies, highlighting their benefits and different use cases. Scroll down. And then this just kind of gives you a breakdown of the impact on an annual basis. Don asked me to talk a little bit about our work with air quality. So I wanted to highlight some of the stats that we have with respect to greenhouse gas emissions. So in our last activity reporting year was 2023. We expect the 2024 reporting should be available any time now. But we averted 9.1 million tons of greenhouse gas emissions. This is the entire network of clean cities and communities data aggregated together. So that was the equivalent of taking about 2.5 million combustion vehicles off the road. And we had an energy use impact of over 1 billion gasoline gallon equivalencies. Scroll down. And this just gives you another view of those emissions reductions. This is the data aggregated for the whole Clean Cities network. Again, that CNG is the big leader with the emissions reductions. And you can see the breakdown of all the other fuel categories there. Scroll down. What this looks like on a local basis. Every year, Tony and I collect the data from all of the fleets that we work with to quantify what our impact is in terms of gasoline gallon equivalency, as well as greenhouse gas emissions reductions. So for Western Pennsylvania in 2024, our data shows that we've reduced gasoline gallons by roughly 15.6 million gallons. Scroll down. And you can see the historical data here. So from 2014 to 2024, we've gone almost like fivefold of an increase in those reductions. Scroll down. And then this is what the greenhouse gas reductions looks like. So we've reduced by about 104,000 tons. And the largest part of that, again, in our region is coming from compressed natural gas. Scroll down. And there you can see the historical view of that, which has really taken off since the pandemic. Scroll down. This is just another view of the same data, but it highlights our goals for the 2025 reporting year, which is what we're starting now. We collect that data roughly from February through the end of April and report it to the Department of Energy, and then they compile the data for us. They did have goals for us of 16% and 20% reductions respectively. We're no longer required to meet those goals, but we still aim to meet them. And I'm happy to say in 2024, we were able to exceed those goals. So we're hoping to have a nice reduction again this year in collaboration with all of our stakeholders. Scroll down. And I think that's all I have. So I'm happy, Tony and I are happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Kristen. A lot of great resources and workshops and training that you're doing. Appreciate all those connections. I guess is the road meter question for you, Steve. The Queen Township landfill, do they have the CNG, the power vehicles for use it, or any other kind of aware of the space of the CNG? Yeah, so the Wayne Township landfill does have a CNG filling station. It is actual like GI gas. They also separately collect their methane, clean it up, and sell it back to the GI. Or, you know, funding their own landfill operations. So that's a question. Yeah, sure. But it's renewable natural gas. I'm sorry to hear that, Kristen.
That was hard to hear. Yes, I'm sorry.
The question about what is renewable natural gas.
So you're asking about renewable natural gas?
Yes, correct.
What can I tell you more? What specifically are you asking about?
Yeah, natural gas is methane. I didn't know you could renewable.
Hey, Steve, I don't know if you can hear us, but the audio is difficult to understand you coming from the room.
Okay, thanks, Justin. So you're familiar with that, Brad? I know a lot of the agricultural districts, they're looking at the methane that is produced during the methane multi, right? And a lot of those in the past have to burn off that excess methane. If it's not collected, stored, and then sold. That's a renewable source of energy for methane gas. But I'm not sure if that's what we're referring to. That's what I think we're referring to.
Yeah, this is Tony. There's all types of, of ways of getting renewable natural gas, and landfill gas is one of them. There's, anaerobic digestion. There's a bunch of different ways. And I know that the state and the feds were very interested in it. The last administration, this administration, not sure, but the state likes those projects. So if you know anybody that has a farm or waste treatment plant, or if any of your, those are things, the projects that they like, because obviously it's carbon neutral when you're taking a waste and using it as a fuel. So it's something that the state really look favorable on those kind of projects, especially if you can get a fleet connected to it.
A lot of good folks were using the basic idea items. But interesting like I just said, the way landfills collecting methane. Garbage and cleaning it and recycling it into selling it. I don't know how that's done. Well, yeah, so they run a contractor that specializes in it. They collect the methane, it takes all the bad stuff out. So there's landfill gas in it and leachate and other nasty stuff. And it's filtered down to basically available quality. And they push it right into UGI lines and it's metered in UGI lines. The rest of it just, the waste goes right back into the landfill. They're going through a big expansion right now, so they're making a lot of gas. It's fresh garbage. Apparently, it's very good. They did put some of their trucks after their fleet. I think they have a few that run on natural gas. I mean, the local ones that say local, like Main Township comes down to your transfer center station, Middle Town, which is where our waste is. But they're still running diesel and work out for them to run natural gas, and that's the job to do it. I think State College had switched over to gas, natural gas. And most of their buses right there, and then State College proper was out there for some meeting, and they had a lot of those gasoline, compressed gas vehicles.
And yeah, like the cattle loops that run through State College. When I went to college, there was a few like black smoke in your face. And now it's completely clean.
Yeah.
There's no exhaust, it's just like the city blasting here. It is the natural gas. It's like,
Yeah, and PRCC will actually be doing a little demonstration with the Center County Recycling and Refuse Authority coming up in March 11th. We will have a community engagement workshop where we will highlight that case study of the CNG that they're using.
Be interesting. Any other questions from the room or online for first about alternative fuel initiative? So appreciate the expertise and thanks for.
Thanks for having us.
I just like to make one more comment that if you're not already aware, the NEVI second round of NEVI is due today. So can you hear me? Let's turn off my camera. Can you guys hear me? Because it's very blurry.
We can hear you. We can hear you clearly, just not the boardroom.
Okay. So the second round of NEVI is due today, and that was Community Connector, DC fast charging. But the next round of NEVI is coming out probably end of summer, beginning of fall, and that's going to be community programs. So level 2s, multi-unit dwellings, anything goes. So if you're not already working together to see if you can get a SEDA COG project, if individual municipalities or anybody is interested in that, that's something you can talk to Kristen and I about, and we can try and put together a project to submit for that NEVI funding that's coming out.
Three in the room that can hear and follow up for our annual reports and target setting.
Steve, it's Justin. It's still pretty bad on our end. I don't know if everyone else agrees, but
okay. Yeah, sorry for Not sure if it's a network issue or if it's Al. I get the devices here. There. You can try it if you want. It's all about.
That's the actual the computer. So maybe we just. I think the mic on this is working. Can you guys hear this okay?
Yes, I can hear that better.
So since you're using this microphone, you're gonna have to speak up a little bit louder. Okay.
They will project.
Thanks.
Okay, sorry about that, everybody. Technical issues in the room. So I'll start from the beginning on this. Every year, the MPO adopts annual safety target measures in accordance with PennDOT's recommendations. So the targets can either be our own, or we can follow that we would establish, or we can adopt a statewide target. Those targets for the next year are to reflect a 2% annual fatality reduction and maintain level prospective serious injuries. And so we would recommend that the MPO vote to adopt and support the 2026 state targets, as I mentioned, by planning and programming projects that contribute to meeting or making significant progress towards establishing the PennDOT safety targets. Every year, they're looking at the baseline on a 5-year rolling average. And so if the baseline goes up, then the target gets adjusted to kind of affect that. Yeah, so if you look at least on here, and this doesn't call out non-motorized versus motorized, but you can see how it's, it goes up and down. 2020 was the worst year for fatalities in the area. And so sometimes if those targets aren't being met for the baseline versus the previous target, if they aren't being met, then the target for the next year would decrease by the adjust for that target.
Yeah, kind of nationwide, not so much in our area, but a lot of urban areas, you did see spikes the last couple of years in non-motorized vehicle crashes and fatalities, unfortunately. So that's kind of a nationwide trend.
Yeah, and the other part of it is, I think particularly since 2020, we've seen an increase in non-motorized transportation, and certainly things like e-bikes and stuff like that have made it, more lucrative, more something that people want to engage in and be outside and do active transportation. And so obviously if you have more people doing it, then, you may have more fatalities. And I know in the past, folks, MPO members have asked, what happens if we don't meet the targets or if the state doesn't meet the targets. And historically, I think the state pretty much doesn't meet the targets. And so that requires that the department submit an implementation plan to FHWA. And then also it requires that they obligate this will be fiscal year 2027 for the next fiscal year, a specific amount of HSIP dollars to these types of projects. So. And that's at the state lab level.
So it is our intent to either meet or come in below the project.
Yeah. I think everyone's objective is always going to be to, meet or
Not exceed.
be better than the target, whichever that way that needs to go. So obviously having less fatalities and less expected serious injuries. And obviously, earlier, I think both District 2 and District 3, but particularly District 3, there were a lot of projects that were lane departure related, and they mentioned, the high friction surface treatments, the cable barriers that we've been seeing a lot more of, and rumble strips and things like that really help to reduce those types of things.
Definitely the goal, kind of system-wide, what's going to reduce crashes anywhere, rather than going after just individual hot spots that might pop up, spikes for a year or two, and then disappear. Those things, just like Chris was referencing, and that Chris covered earlier, those curves, we have a lot of people leaving the roadway, hitting trees, hitting signs, etc. To kind of do those kinds of things systemically. So we can do the high friction surface to reduce the lane departures and do the rumble strips and things like that. But we certainly still have other large projects like in your county on Route 54 that are occurring as well. So the goal is to move toward zero, obviously. That's our ultimate goal, but to kind of set these, realistic targets with the science behind them. Otherwise, if we were going to create our own, we'd have to go through some specific methodologies and submit that to PennDOT, whereas following the statewide targets, we have the 2% reduction in fatalities and the level of expected serious injuries is what's already been evaluated fully by them for the state. And so we usually adopt that, maybe one or two MPOs that do their own, like Philadelphia area, but the rest of us pretty much all adopt the statewide target. Is there a question you have as well, Lincoln? Sorry. No, I was going to say I'll make it. Thank you for the motion, Lincoln. Do we have a second? Second. Thank you, Greg, for the second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, well, next segue, and if you want to just briefly reference the obligated project report.
Yeah, so I wanted to bring your attention to the obligated project report. We did not put the full report into the packet, but it is available online on our main transportation page at SEDA COG, as well as I think Nancy did some press releases about it on some social media. And so this is something that is required by the federal legislation, the transportation legislation, and just for, statistical purposes, the MPO last year had 75 obligations, or last fiscal year, and that was worth over $75 million.
Any questions for Kristen on that, or feel free to review it, and then we'll be doing one the end of this year for the federal fiscal year 2026 as well. So you'll see that return on a similar basis. If not, if you're able to hear, okay, hopefully, Brian, for the long-range transportation plan, if you were going to screen share, I think, the PowerPoint on your end, and then Kristen, if there's anything you want to introduce first.
So Brian, our consultant from Michael Baker, is available online today, and he has we have a presentation, a very brief overview of where we're at with the LRTP, but obviously looking to move towards a vote in April. At the next MPO meeting to go out for public comment on this. So we're reaching the end of the cycle of development, and in the next couple of months we'll be moving towards adoption. So Brian, if you want to go ahead and give us a brief update.
Okay, thank you, Kristen, and good morning, everyone. Hopefully I'm coming through clearly and you can see my screen. Yep. Okay, wonderful. Earlier, Chris King had noted that the end is in sight on CSVT, but it's even closer for the long-range transportation plan. We're in the final months of the plan's development. And for today, I just had a brief update for everyone, just to give you an overview of where things stand with regard to the planning process and where we're going to be here over the next couple of weeks. So just had 2 or 3 slides here to help guide the discussion. Just looking at overall planning status, work has been moving forward on developing a working draft of the LRTP. Things are coming together. We do have several gaps that we're looking to close, working with MPO staff on some of the mapping and the environmental resources analysis work that's underway right now. We just met with staff yesterday to talk through that. And that's going to enter into an upcoming consultation we have with the ACM here sometime in March. I'll talk more about that. We're also, the staff is moving forward on a project scoring methodology, as well as a update of the region's functional classification scheme. I know many of you have been involved in that already, especially the county planning directors, and others from the districts are going to be getting more involved here in the near term as the MPO looks to make a submission on recommended updates to the region's functional classification scheme. Also under appendices, we're going to be in the process of pulling together a number of materials that are going to be needed for the plan. Justin Batchick will probably be reaching out to you here over the near term to get more information on a draft tip for the interstate and transit and some other pieces that we're going to be needing to pull together into a draft long-range plan. Looking ahead, our schedule is really starting to firm up between now and the eventual adoption in June. We do have a steering committee meeting that has been scheduled for next month, and the primary purpose of that meeting, I know many of you in the meeting today are part of that steering committee, but the primary objective of our next meeting is going to be reviewing a draft long-range plan. And we're going to be looking to you for a recommendation for approval for this draft to go on to the MPO for further action. I mentioned the ACM that's coming up on March 25th. And for those of you who aren't familiar with ACM, that is the agency coordination meeting. And it's really a gathering of representatives from environmental resource agencies like the EPA and the Fish and Boat Commission and others like that. Federal requirements dictate that we need to collaborate with representatives from environmental resource agencies to talk more about mitigation strategies, looking at our proposed program and what kind of strategies are needed to mitigate our program's impact on the environment. So that is a session that we'll be conducting with the ACM on March 25th. And then looking further out at our next meeting on April 10th, next MPO meeting, we will be providing the staff with a draft LRTP that will be included in your meeting packet. And so at our next meeting, we'll be looking to you for a recommendation to release the draft for review by the public. Is the draft acceptable to put out on the street for public review? So that'll be an important agenda item at the April MPO meeting. We've also, you'll notice we've budgeted a little bit of time between April 10th and April 17th. If the MPO does have any comments on the draft plan, we have some time there in between to take care of those and address those changes prior to releasing the plan for the required 30-day public review and comment period. And that review period will be punctuated by a public meeting. We're planning to have a public open house, and we're continuing to work with MPO staff on the details of that public open house in terms of the location and our overall approach to conducting the open house. And then finally, circle this date on your calendar. At the June 12th MPO meeting, we'll be coming to you with a request for adoption of the long-range plan. So that's an overview of where we are, just looking ahead. In terms of the major next steps we have, we're going to be continuing to collaborate with MPO staff on filling those gaps within the draft plan. Another initiative that's underway that really doesn't have any direct bearing on the long range plan is the functional classification changes. Staff is moving forward on that. There's a lot of requirements involved in making those requests to PennDOT and FHWA. Our steering committee and then preparing for the ACM is really going to be dominating our time and attention here over the next several weeks. So again, just a brief overview. We will have much more to share with you at the April and June meetings, but this is just to give you a little overview of where the process stands today. I'd be happy to take any questions or comments.
So thank you very much, Brian. And obviously we look forward to further discussions with everyone and into adoption. Along with, yeah, sure.
Thank you,
PIP
Kristen.
and the LRTP are, coming together both at the same time. So the packed agendas in April and June. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Kristen and Brian. Get back to sharing our main meeting PowerPoint guide. We're up to item K. Again, the other major plan update that's occurring simultaneously with the Transportation Improvement Program, the typical 4-year listing of all the pre-construction and construction activities that will be occurring on roads and bridges, safety projects across the region. And you all been intimately involved in that throughout, especially our county planning directors and our local bridge prioritization meetings and other project consideration meetings we've had building to this time. So in the packet, we have usually each update, we like to prepare some summary at a glance charts and bullets for you, starting on page 49. Everybody that's following with us in the room or online is that highlight. And this is still draft and it's still pending some statewide managed program decisions to come out that will increase the number of projects and the project values on the region's tip. But you see the highlights there. There are 57 new projects. Those are projects that were not on a prior 12-year program. They're candidate projects now for this update. And so you see the value of those and some of the breakdown by road and bridge and safety. 203 carryover projects. And then we have some line item projects. You'll see those grouped within Clinton and Columbia County just because they're the first alphabetically in District 2 and District 3. So projects can go to various road and bridge needs, safety projects across the region in the line items. And then one environmental stormwater control mitigation project there as well. And then our big behemoth, the CSVP project, obviously that's carrying the bulk of the individual project level funding, combining those amounts on the tip, approximately $137 million for advancing the CSVP project to completion. And you see just our draft kind of comment period activity there, and then we'll combine that with the long range plan period, and then have a public meeting in the early part of May, hopefully for that, and move toward adoption in June of the 2027 to 2030 tip. So, and your summary charts there, feel free to ask questions about those with anything, and as I said, we'll revise it come April when we get some of those statewide managed program decisions, or if there's any other adjustments that occur. But most of the funding, is construction related, with 85% of the amounts there, but all those kind of preliminary engineering, design, final design, right-of-way phases as well, being carried that are needed. The CSVP project itself now down to 27%. That's been up in like the 35% area in the past, but now 27% of the overall funding, as a lot of the other phases have been completed and contracts are finished or nearly finished. And then you'll see the interstate showing on here on page 57 or 51 as well. About 6% of the roadway projects are on the interstate from the region STIP allocation, and then some of the statewide projects to be added, like I mentioned later on as well. As we get into kind of the breakdown by type, page 52, pretty even there, roadway and state bridge funding project types. That's a little bit of a departure from the 2025 tip. There were more state bridge projects, but there is an emphasis
some roadway resurfacing needs and micro surfacing, so they're a little bit more equal for this update. On the local bridge side, that rose from 21 on the 2025 tip as we develop in the draft. So you can see there's a nice increase there of 30 now, local bridges appearing on the tip. And then on the safety side, that's a lot of these kind of treatments like we heard about earlier, but the biggest single project in Montour County, Route 54 and 642 intersection, realignment and safety project there. And the funding by type, as you see on page 53, skewed by the CSPP project. You see the stacked bar chart there. Within Snyder County for that southern section of the CSPP being completed, and then Northumberland County, the Ridge Road upgrades kind of tied into the CSPP project. That's why those are showing for $19 million there for those improvements on Ridge Road between Route 11 and 147. And then we give the tabulation of the new projects by county, keep those listed. And then we included within the packet the actual TIP project. Sorry for the small size here. If you're looking at the electronic, you're a little bit better, but the page scaling of the curve, we just print the combo PDF. It's kind of hard, 8.5 by 11, but feel free to look at the packet when you return for those of you in the room to identify those things more easily. So those are all the draft projects that occur on the TIP, starting on page 54 of the packet. Alphabetically by county, showing the phasing and the project funding codes and amounts there. When we get to April, obviously we'll have the full materials with the narrative, other descriptions, and the other pieces that we bring to bear on the TIP development process. We wanted to at least give you the draft project listing to chew on and take a look at here today. And so with that being said, are there questions, comments, observations about any of the draft project listing or some of the summary at a glance information from anyone in the room or online? Okay. Yes, Lincoln.
Kristen, when or any of the guys from PennDOT, we had met down at the intersection of 522 and Susquehanna Avenue. Has there been any discussion about the possibility of putting that project, possibility of a roundabout on the tip?
You're talking about the Penn Township?
Yeah.
Do you want to defer to Chris?
Yeah, I'm going to defer to Chris.
Could you, let me look at the transcript. I couldn't hear what
Oh,
you said,
sorry,
but I
Chris.
think I heard my name.
The roundabout project in Penn Township. Lincoln was asking if that was in consideration for the TIP. So I didn't know if you wanted to do a brief update.
No. Without a maintenance agreement, we can't proceed.
So it's basically,
And we did copy the commissioners on both letters we sent to Penn Township. I don't know if you saw it, Lincoln. I can get you the letter, or both of them.
so basically what you're saying, township issue. because
Yeah,
they're not
definitely.
willing to take on any responsibility with basically the known wood project.
Yeah, yep. There's a standard roundabout maintenance agreement that PennDOT requires. And so for this site, it would basically be a light, I'm not sure how many signs. There would be some 2-4 signs and then some line striping that they would have to take maintenance responsibility for. But I'll get you the letters, Lincoln.
Yeah, there were prior meetings held.
Yep.
There was some correspondence going back and forth, and unfortunately, the adoption of the maintenance agreement was not forthcoming from the township.
Penn Township is just part of the work.
So those of you that have other roundabout considerations or pursuits, obviously you take a look at those and you can conduct the studies, but you need to have that commitment up front from the township for those, just like the roadways where they're 35 miles per hour and under signs or obviously traffic lights. And now that Monroe Township's coming back around, you saw earlier what Chris had alluded to for the the CSDP Southern Section project, that's being incorporated now, but it's the way so supervisors. Yeah. Any other questions about the draft tip project listing or the schedule going forward?
Just an update, Chris, everything on schedule, on track for 54,642?
Yeah, everything is. Yep, everything on track. We've had some, I guess, some correspondence locally related to concerns with being able to navigate some of the larger expanses of pavement. So, which is tough in the winter. We are going to try and get the skip lines installed and keep them maintained. But again, it's really tough in the wintertime. But yeah, everything's on track.
Good. If there's nothing further, obviously come the April meeting, we'll have the draft tip for consideration to approve advertising for comment. And again, just we'll highlight, what some of the changes are, those projects that have been added since this meeting, and the listing before you here today, but they won't be sizable, but there'll be some changes. If anything comes to mind afterward, feel free to let us know. And then we'll advertise in the month of April into May, have the public meeting, and look to adopt in June. Give us enough time to supply everything we need to do with PennDOT. And also, if there's any public comments coming in, we'll certainly chronicle those and appropriate responses for you. Next is item L, the Active Transportation Committee update. There's nothing within the packet, but usually we report on some of the Active Transportation Committee business here. So the next meeting will be on February 18th. Tentatively, we'll be working with the International Mountain Biking Association to give a presentation there. We have some follow-ups to do on that. If you've not heard, we kind of give a staffing update that Leslie Warner is no longer at the Susquehanna Agreement Partnership. She was the co-chair of the committee and the executive director. So we'll work with their interim teams for the business here as well. On the sidewalk inventory front, we've been giving that update. Sam's been working with our intern on that. It looks like the instant application is ready for distribution. We'll get that out to everyone as well. Appreciate everything on kind of the complete streets and the active transportation project prioritization from the county. And so we'll have that finalized and shared with you as well. And just to make sure you know, our region-wide bike ped plan was from 2019. So hopefully sometime later this year, we'll be working to get that updated for the entire 8-county region. And be able to kick off that process. And the last thing I wanted to mention here is the Active Transportation Planning Workshop. I'll bring that website up. If you've not checked that out, we shared the materials as an email on the event. And I did grab the landing page here. I'll bring it up while we're speaking today. Okay, screen share.
Hey, Steve, we can't see anything or hear anything right now.
Okay, maybe it's because it changed to the TV, I'm not sure, but I'll put the link in the chat, and it's certainly in the materials as well. But this is the Active Transportation Workshop on March 20th over at the CSIU, the Intermediate Union in Montandon. Targeted, Northumberland County is definitely targeted within there, and that's the Department of Health priority area based on income and obesity rates. But please do promote that to municipalities. Last week when we heard from the downtown partnership, there were 21 people registered. Some other groups, some county folks, obviously ourselves, some of the other presenters and organizers. But hopefully we'll get a minimum of 45 attendees. I don't think that'll be a problem, but we could take upwards of 60. So the space will allow that. There'll be a lot of good information sharing, presentations, and there'll be like a little walking audit that can be conducted as part of that on March 20th as well. So please do go ahead and promote that event. We're excited about that and putting it on with our partners at PennDOT, obviously the PennDOT LTAP folks, the PennDOT Connects, PA Downtown Center, and the Walkworks group as well. So if you've not signed up and you're interested, or if you know certain municipalities that should be looking more actively at some active transportation planning processes or projects to develop, it'll cover a lot of the key content, the funding programs, and other kind of operational things and policies that people can work on as well. So you go ahead and check that out. I think you should have all received our emails about it. There was one save the date, and then there was a follow-up email as well, and Nancy helped with some of the promotion. So we're looking forward to that on March 20th. It'll be here before you know it, and that's pretty much the start of spring. So hopefully a lot better day to do the walking on it than it is here today. So again, the next committee meeting will be February 18th, and we'll share that in advance for the agenda materials. And if we get the guest presentation in time, we'll share that as well. Any other active transportation committee comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, I don't see any raised hands or anything in the chat. We're up to the member forum, item N. So is there anything for the good of the order, anything going on within the counties or anyone online that you'd like to share as part of the member forum? Yes,
Dave,
go ahead,
this
Jim.
is Jim Latier. Could you hear me? Yeah, and I don't know if there's an oversight here, but on my part, but under Safe Streets and Roads for All program in the items of interest, it said no projects were funded during the FY 2025 SS4A. The county did receive SS4A grant here at the Mifflin County. Maybe it had been from FF 2024, I'm not sure, but we do have a request for proposal out for a comprehensive safety improvement plan that supplements our current active transportation plan, and it's online if any consultant or anyone is interested
Great,
to look
thank you,
at
Jim.
it.
Yeah, that was a prior round, yours in East Buffalo Township. And before those two was the city of Shamokin, who we had presented back to Transportation Committee from Betsy Kramer. So yes, congrats on getting through that and now putting that RFP out, and we'll look forward to being connected to that and seeing some of the implementation that hopefully comes from it. So, but yeah, the most recent round, just some of our surrounding counties had received, and when the next fiscal year round opens up, we'll be sure to promote that for Streets and Roads for All, whether it's planning, demonstration, or for implementation. Looks like Jeff has something else for you, Steve. Okay, go ahead, Jeff Eisen, please.
Yes. Do we have any updates on the Lewistown Amtrak station?
I don't know if
and
either Mifflin
ADA
County or
upgrades?
the district has anything. I've not seen anything. I knew it was advancing for what they were contracting at PennDOT multimodal deputy, but is there anything else locally anyone would like to share?
I anticipated this question, Jeff. So the latest I know, back in December of 2025, there was an article in the paper that the design plans were being completed by Amtrak. 100% design was distributed to the stakeholders, and their stormwater design approvals have been secured. And that's all I know at this point. I can't tell you whether it was actually completed, but I thought it was underway based on what I know.
Thank you.
Yep, Steve, Mark Schultz here. We do not have full oversight of that, so no, I do not have any additional information on that.
In your packet, page 69, I could have covered on the earlier item, but the Walkworks active transportation planning grants were just announced this week after we developed the packet. So if anybody's interested, yeah, we note there that Berwick Borough recently went through the pre-planning, and they're likely to submit, just like Coltmont Borough in the past got the pre-planning assistance, and now has an active transportation planning grant. So if you know folks where that'll be beneficial, if you Lockheed even has received that in the past, feel free to promote that directly to them. and they can go through and develop active transportation plans or complete streets policies or ordinances and the like through there. So that closes on March 20th, the same day as the workshop that we'll be conducting over in Mount Hammond. Anything additional from anyone online or in the room for member forum? Okay, hearing none, I think we'd look for a motion to adjourn and reconvene on April 10th. Lincoln, thank you. Do we have a second? Yes. And Greg for the second. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Great. Thanks, everyone. And thanks for bearing with some of the technical difficulties today. You're rewarded for your perseverance.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, everyone.
We're on time. 11:31. Great, thank you.
Don't forget to save the chat,
Stop the recording.
please.